Hello and welcome to the third rail. If you follow the channel, you might have seen a couple of videos about a temporary Märklin layout I am currently working on. If you haven't, I strongly recommend you watch the other videos in the series accessible via the little card at the top of the screen now. In the last episode, I finally completed the automation work on the first station. I ran a few tests which were successful, so I replicated this work in the second station area, which is now ready to join a wider block system on the main lines. Until now we have been traveling at ground level using a bypass after the first station marked in red on the plan to avoid the bridge section and the large loops on the main line. This week we will finally leave this bypass and venture in the wide spaces offered by the rest of the layout. In preparation for this occasion, I got out quite a bit of rolling stock I do not care much about. Most of it comes from the spare parts bin, and I've got a few locos which are not the best in the collection. Nevertheless, I made sure that the locomotives and wagons or coaches are in good working order, because there's nothing worse than having to deal with mechanical trouble when trying to troubleshoot a block system. So it looks like we're ready, so let the fun begin. So first of all, what do I have to do? Well, the red area marked on the plan on screen is the area I'll be targeting in today's episode. This means a lot of wiring, again, sorry, but also more trains added to the block system as we go along, and that's not a bad thing. So to start, I will be disconnecting the cable releasing the trains from the station, and I will be sending a train to a new position so that it's ready to be pulled in by advancing trains in the preceding blocks later on. So I'm going to use this little BR194 as a guide. It's been with us since the beginning of the series. It will travel from block to block and stop at each signal, waiting for me to finish the configuration work in the area. You can follow the progress on the track plan I've linked in the description, but I'll also put a few blow-up sections of it next to each shot on the video. So we've reached the first stop. There we do the usual, which is to set a switching track to reset the signal to red. Well, it's a contact track in this case. It doesn't really matter. So this contact, the next time the train goes over this contact track, it will set the signal behind it to red. A bit further up the line, we have a switching track this time, which will be used to release the trains coming from the station. So I'm going to pull a green cable controlling the green aspect via the relay we've set up at the end of the last episode to the appropriate port on the switching track, and I am going to send an additional train into the block system, which will be waiting in the block just before the station. The train we've sent before has already reached the station as it was following the green train. So we're going to set the green train in motion, and we should see a bit more action this time. So the train goes over the switching track and releases one of the trains from the station. The train behind the station waiting is coming in. The train that left the station earlier is going to the place where the green train was waiting, and the green train has travelled in the meantime towards a signal located just under the bridge before the second station. So before I start configuring that signal, I can send an additional train into the block system. It will replace the previous one that just left the block and entered the station. There we go, it's ready to go. So I can now configure the signal behind the bridge so that it is automatically reset to red with a switching track. That's done. And then I need to concentrate on the station. There we have a group of switching tracks, so one on each parallel track of the station, that will be controlling the same signal. So I've joined them together and I've laid a cable to, I think, signal 7, which is where the green train came from before it stopped at the bridge, where the red train is waiting now. So I've laid a long cable to there. So any train going on either track entering the station will alternatively release this block. Now let's see that in action. I'm just going to set the signal manually. My green train is moving in to the station, goes over the switching track and releases the red train. Fantastic! The red train frees a block from the station. That's good as well. And the red train stops at the bridge, which is what it should do, and the train that was waiting before the station has now entered the station, whilst another one is replacing our red train. Great! So it's time for another consist. We'll send a mock TEE or a late era 5, early era 5 TEE, and it's going to go and wait at the block before the station, waiting to be pulled in. So I need to put a second train in the station before I go further. So as you see, everything's moving in its place automatically again. So far it's not going too badly. No derailment, no collisions, so that seems to be behaving itself. But it's not finished yet. We're going to wait for the last train to reach its spot, and now we need to connect the signal before the second station with the longest wire on the layout to a contact track located on the ramp after the station. Right, that's done. Another one bites the dust. It's also time to send an additional consist into the block system. A little tank consist. And it's here, ready for action. So we're ready to try this block out. So we're going to release the green train from the station and see what happens. It slowly exits. We'll go up the ramp and trigger the signal before the station to green, and that's working. But unfortunately I've got a small problem, which is the signal located before the station is not reverting back to red, and that's due to the difference of configuration between the consists following each other. So I'm going to have to set up another safety mechanism analog to the one I used for the other station in the previous episode. And yes, that means more wires, more connections here and there, an additional contact track in the approach to the station, but we will soon be back in business. I'm also going to connect the last two signals at the exit of the first station to the contact track that is allocated to their operation, which is the one we used so far on the loop when we were running 3 trains. So we're ready to test the entire block system for the first time. So we'll send the tanker train on its way. It releases the preceding train, that's good, and our green trains just released one of the trains in the inner station, which is going up the ramp now. That train should have released the train behind it, which itself released the little TEE train. Excellent. And the green train has also been released now and is entering the outer station. Excellent. Things seem to be moving in the right direction so far. I'm still going at a lower speed than I would normally use, just to be able to intervene in case of a problem, but everything looks good so far. So it all looked good, but pretty soon the first problems started to appear. I had to deal with a few collisions and trains simply not stopping where they should have been stopping. And the problem was due to a couple of contact tracks in various places on the layout which were not adjusted well enough. So, after a bit of a screwdriver action, I was back in business and able to start enjoying watching my battered old trains I used for the test going around the layout with no issue whatsoever. I'm going to stop talking now and turn the train volume up for a bit so you have a look at how things work together. So I think I can safely call Phase 4 block automation now officially complete. All I have to do now is tidy up and get ready for the next phase in the build of this temporary layout. But for now, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank all the new subscribers who joined the channel. It's very nice to see that people are interested in my production, and so much so that they subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of new uploads on the channel. Thank you very much again. I find this very rewarding and it keeps me going. But for now, bye and see you next time.